Welcome, dear listeners, to another fascinating episode of The Partial Historians. I am one of your gracious and beautiful hosts, Dr. Greenfield.
And I'm not so shabby either, Dr. Adness.
Very nice, Radness.
So, as our loyal listeners know, we've been tracing the history of Rome from the founding of the city, and at the moment we've been doing the regal period, and we're finally getting to the end.
We're
really
almost at the end of the regal period.
Yeah. I kind of left you in a bit of a cliffhanger last time, in that I have been reading Livy for this, and Livy had all these bad portents in the air. Snakes, slithering around, scaring people. But
Lucius Tarquinius Superbus' rule is not maybe getting the omen shade thrown at it right now.
Your time is up.
Have you noticed the gods are trying to signal something?
Exactly. But you have been reading a different source.
I've been reading Dionysius of Halicarnassus.
Yes.
And fascinating as he is.
Yes.
There are different details, and some things that would appear in Livy's narrative elsewhere appear in Dionysius' narrative earlier on.
Sure, yeah.
And we're actually at one of those moments right now.
Yes, so please tell me what Dionysius thinks is so important that we have to put off going to Delphi.
Well, so one of the really significant events that are associated with Superbus' reign is the acquisition of the Sibylline oracles.
Now these are pretty important for
These
Rome.
are pretty important.
Yeah.
And so the oracle documents are supposed to, they're difficult to interpret, they're not meant to be copied, but they are supposed to help you with understanding prodigies, understanding omens.
Yeah, because basically isn't the whole story about this, I mean, obviously it's a mythical story, but isn't the original story something
ouch.
something like, there was an old woman and she offered someone, I can't remember who was it? Who was it?
So this is great. So the narrative that Dionysius gives us says a certain woman.
Right, yeah.
No other classification is
I didn't think I had more details there.
Yeah. A certain woman who was not a native.
Right.
She rocks up to Superbus. And she
so it is actually Superbus.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
According to Dionysius, yes, it's Superbus. She rocks up to him and she says, look, I've got these 9 books of Sibylline oracles. Yeah. I will sell them to you.
Yeah.
And he's like, he looks at the books and they're like, shabby or whatnot.
Yeah. And he looks at her and he's like,
ask her the price. And she says a figure that, frankly, he's astonished by. And he's like, he basically just laughs at her. He's like, hells no, lady.
I might have a lot of booty right now, but
I see you're not from around here, but you don't know the value of books. And she's like, okay, well, that's fine. She goes away and she burns 3 of them.
Yeah. This is kind of where I take my tips from parenting from this woman.
So she goes away, she burns 3 of them, she comes back, and she's like, Tarquinius Superbus, could I have your attention for a moment?
Yes.
And he's like, you bookseller lady, again? And she's like, no, but seriously, I burnt 3 of the books and there's only 6 left.
And she says the same price, right?
Yeah. And he's like, are you trying to sell me these books again? She's like, yeah. And he's like, what's the price? And she names the same figure as she had for the 9 books.
Yeah.
And he's like, what is up with you?
Yeah.
Are you mad? Are you actually
crazy,
mad?
lady?
I told you I wasn't going to buy them at that price when there was 9 books.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think was going to happen when you came to me with only 6 left.
Well, it's a sales tactic.
Yeah.
We're running out. We don't have that many left.
It's a fire sale.
Exactly.
So anyway, I got it.
Yeah.
And so she goes away again and
does the same thing, right?
Yeah. She goes away, she burns another 3, comes back, and she's like, excuse me, Tarquinius Superbus.
And he's like, oh my god.
He's like, no, are you for real?
Yeah.
And she's like, no,
who keeps letting you into my presence?
pretty much.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, let me guess. And she's like, no, seriously, I did burn another 3 and they're still the same price. And he's like, something is up here.
I'm starting to get suspicious.
And so he goes and talks to the augurs. And he's like, guys, I've got this crazy woman. She's burning these books and she keeps naming the same price. And they're like, what books? What books? He's like, they're called the Sibylline oracles. And they're like, oh my god! And they're like, what is wrong with you, man?
You let him burn 6 books? I can't.
they have a fit, basically, and they're like, what is she asking for these books? And he's like, this exorbitant figure.
Yeah.
And they're like,
pay it.
Dude, just pay it. Just pay whatever she's asking.
Yeah.
And they're like, why didn't you just do this for the 9 books? And he's like, didn't know they were important. They're like, they're super important.
Asshole.
And he's like, all right. Well, at least you were smart enough to eventually consult somebody in the business.
That is true. Rather than letting her go and burn the remaining books.
And then they're all gone.
Yeah.
And so, the woman's like, okay, so, you're going to pay I see, this is excellent.
Yeah. Here you go, sir.
Yeah. She's like, well, take good care of them.
Yeah. You don't want them to accidentally go on fire.
You wouldn't want to,
You have no idea how flammable these things are.
They're very hard to like keep intact, obviously. So he chooses a couple of guys to look after these books and trust them to them. And this becomes like part of like the public service.
Yeah.
And it over time, the group of people who look after these books expands.
Yeah.
So it gets expanded to 10 men, it gets expanded to 15 men. They store these books in a vault underneath the Capitoline Temple.
Very clever.
It's all tying together now.
It is. Yeah. Important temple, important books, everything's happening.
Yeah. And so, unfortunately, these books are destroyed later on in a temple fire. But that's not for a long time. We're talking sort of like we're around about in maybe the 520s at this point in time.
Exactly.
The books have got a long time left. So the acquisition of the Sibylline oracles happens in the rule of Tarquinius Superbus.
Pretty notable stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. So, is this when your source gets onto Delphi? Or is there more?
No, I mean, seriously, like, Delphi just is not really coming up for me.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough.
Well, like, I felt like I read about Delphi, but, like, where I am in the narrative at the moment, that's not what's happening.
Do you want to continue with...
Oh, no. Right. Well, I mean, I could. I could talk about some colonies, but...
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to talk about the colonies later. Basically, to go back to what I was talking about before, basically, a snake had appeared... Everyone was a bit freaked out, seemed like a bad
Came out
sign.
of the pillar.
Yeah, came out of the pillar. Everyone in the palace is like, what?
How did it come out of the pillar?
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
And so, even though Tarquinius is not overly alarmed, he's a little bit nervous, and so he decides, you know what? Go to Delphi. Delphi is the place to go if you want the Oracle of Oracles from the female priestess who apparently gets messages from either gases that come out of the cracks underneath the temple, or perhaps Apollo.
Well, something is speaking through her somehow.
Exactly, yeah, something's speaking through her. So anyway, he basically says, this is obviously a pretty sensitive matter. Once again, I'm going to turn to my beloved sons. And so they have to...
Send my boys out to Delphi.
Yeah, and they have to go travelling a bit. So, he decides, okay, Titus, Aaron's, my sons... Maybe you should have some company for this long journey you're about to undertake. How about you take Lucius Junius Brutus along with you? And that's basically his nephew. Okay, so this is the son of Tarquinia, his sister. And basically... Brutus is apparently...
Brutus is renowned for being stupid.
Yeah, Brutus is like a nickname for being dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, so he gets invited along with this trip, basically so the 2 sons can have, like, a good time, because they've got somebody to tease.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, yeah. They basically want someone to make fun of as they travel. Talk about your spoiled brats. Yeah. So basically, they also take along a gift for Apollo, as you do, which apparently, in Livy, I don't know about in your source, is a golden staff. And it's enclosed within wood.
Yeah, this story comes up a lot later in Dionysius.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is all ringing lots of bells. So because the idea is that Brutus offers a wooden staff.
Yeah, but it's gold on the inside.
Yeah. And so the brothers are laughing at him, being like, oh, he's being dumb again. Not realising that Brutus is actually offering a proper offering.
And Livy makes this sort of aside that it's kind of like his own character because it's gold on the inside and wooden and silly on the outside.
Oh, the symbolism.
Yeah, because this is the whole thing about Brutus. He's apparently just pretending to be stupid. Because then everyone will sort of disregard him.
Well, it's quite important because Brutus's family has been bumped off in various ways
Yeah.
by Tarquinius Superbus.
Exactly, yeah.
So
he's well aware that he has to be on his guard around
his
this guy.
father and his elder brother were both killed.
Yeah.
And so Brutus, from childhood, plays the dumb strategy.
Yeah.
So he flies under the radar.
Again, reminds me a little bit of a Julio-Claudian emperor later on. Claudius, hello. Someone who, basically puts on this act, and anyway, it's working well because everyone thinks he is really stupid. So basically, they finally arrive at the Oracle, and they say that their father has sent them, and they, carry out the task that he sent them to do. But then they think, you know what? While we're here, this is a pretty unique opportunity. Let's find out which one of us is going to be king of Rome. Hooray! And the reply is...
What better place to ask than the premier oracle of all of the ancient world?
Precisely. So the reply is... The highest power at Rome shall be his young men, who shall first be among you to kiss his mother. I'm trying to sound like a stoned out priestess.
I don't even have a response to that.
So everyone, they're kind of looking at each other going, okay, so obviously we don't want Dad to know we asked that question because it might look bad. But we have to decide between us now who's going to be the first to kiss Mum when we get home. And while they're sort of, doing that,
I think, don't Titus and Aaron sort of, at least according to Dionysius, they decide that they'll kiss their mother at the same time.
Well, basically the whole thing is, they're kind of irrelevant. While they're talking about this.
Yes, but no as well, because, there's nothing like having your sons come home and they're both kissing you.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But while they are at this stage just sort of debating, how are we going to decide who's going to do this?
Yes.
Brutus, clever man that he is, secretly...
Or dumb, as he appears to be.
Exactly. Apparently pretends to fall over, which would look stupid, yeah. And basically, as he sort of fell down, he kisses the earth.
The mother of us all.
Exactly, yeah. So
somebody's a little bit more clever than they've been letting on.
Exactly. So this is all happening, and what's gonna happen?
Okay, so now we've got this situation where Brutus is sort of symbolically set up as the potential next king.
Exactly. Yeah. But of course, Tarquinius' reign is not over.
Not by a long shot. No. Don't be fooled, dear listeners.
That's just setting it up. Yeah. So basically, in Livy, he then goes on to this campaign in Ardea. Mm-hmm. Okay, basically another place that is apparently quite wealthy.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you got to lay siege, you got to get your booty.
Yeah, exactly. And particularly because Superbus... Sorry, I'm starting to do that thing with the Superbus thing again. Superbus...
Not the Superbus.
The Superbus, yeah. He basically, because of all the building stuff, which we talked about in the last episode, with the temple and the sewers and the whatnot, he needs to keep the money flowing in. Yeah, because he needs to keep funding this project, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's not...
a lot of building works going on.
Yeah, he's not just got, slaves and plebeians and that. He's also employing, highly skilled artisans.
Well, he's taken off... Yeah, he's actually co-opted a whole bunch of really skilled artisans, architects, engineers, off private works into public works. Yeah. This is expensive, because he still has to pay them at private rates. Oof. Ooh.
Yep, need another campaign, people. Gotta replenish.
Another war.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So according to Livy, again, initial assault doesn't exactly work. Okay, so then again...
Bit of a siege.
It's time to siege. And basically... During the siege, obviously, there's not a lot to do all the time, so often the young...
People inside the city spend a lot of time just waiting.
Yeah, and, trying not to eat each other.
People outside the city spend a lot of time just waiting.
Yeah, highly interesting. So basically, a lot of the young princes often entertain themselves by dining and drinking together. Is this similar to the story that you have?
Oh, yeah. So we've got this sense in which Sextus is sort of going around and visiting his buddies here and there.
Sure.
And just sort of hanging out with them, ostensibly on war matters, but he's not really up to too much. In fact, he seems far more preoccupied with checking out other men's wives.
Yeah, and this is the same Sextus, presumably, who helped out with the whole
This
betrayal.
is the same Sextus who is the king of Gabini.
Yeah, so he's one of the younger sons, right? Obviously, because the other two.
Well, no, interestingly, Dionysius lists Sextus as the eldest son.
Really? See, maybe he's one of the younger sons. Oh, anyway. Son, what? Nonetheless. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're definitely related.
Yeah, exactly. Anywho, so one night, Sextus has a few buddies around, and one of these is Tarquinius Collatinus.
Yeah. Now Collatinus is living in Collatia.
No.
What?
Get out. No.
I know. What are the chances?
Yeah.
But Sextus apparently has been sent there by his father to do some military business.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's not really clear. Provisions, maybe. Yeah. Maybe picking up some weapons.
War
not
stuff,
really sure.
whatever.
But anyway, but he's staying with his cousin.
Yeah.
So this Lucius Tarquinius.
Yeah, so they're part of the
Collatinus.
same family.
Yeah, part of the broader gens.
Yeah.
So...
And they start talking about wives, yes?
Do they?
I think
continue.
Yeah. So, all these guys hang out and they start talking about their wives, and of course, well, not of course, very nicely, apparently, all the guys are saying how awesome their wives are. My wife is the best, blah, blah, blah. And they actually apparently start getting quite... It starts to become quite a heated argument, as so many drunken arguments become. And so Collatinus is like, dudes, there's no point arguing about it. We're only a few hours away from our wives. Why don't we just go and find out, by just watching them without knowing? We'll just see what they're up to. Because I bet that my wife, Lucretia, will turn out to be the best. So all these sort of tipsy guys.
There's a lot of writing on this.
Yeah, there's tipsy guys set off
wandering around being like, they'll never know we're spying on them.
This story has so many holes.
Yeah, and it is quite different from the narrative that Dionysius presents.
Okay, yeah, so how does he lay it out?
Well, so rather than there being any sort of drunken setsu in the lead-in, the idea is that Sextus arrives in Collatia, expecting his cousin Tarquinius Collatinus to be home. Sure. He's not.
But his wife
But
is?
Lucretia is.
I see.
And Lucretia is like, well, you're the kinsman of my husband. Come in. I will entertain you, look after you. And she does all of the right sort of things. Very cordial, very friendly. Offers him some food, whatever.
Yeah.
And so Sextus is kind of like, well, I've had a thing for her for a while.
It's time to scratch that itch.
Yeah. And he's like, Lucretia, finally she's alone at home.
It couldn't be more perfect.
Yeah. And so he's sort of like, oh, cool,
opportunity enough.
Yeah. Wouldn't want to waste an opportunity like this. So he sort of is like, is cordial, kind in return.
Yeah.
Is offered a bed for the night, accepts that bed for the night.
Yeah.
And then I'll leave that hanging there for a
moment. Okay, because
basically
what happens in my version of things is obviously these drunken men arrive in their hometown.
Rocking on!
Yeah, exactly. A party! Spying on our wives.
What is she doing?
She's
bending over to pick up a bowl.
Yeah, so anyway, the guys are apparently spying on their wives. And predictably, one after the other, they're all having a pretty awesome time, drinking wine, laughing, not doing anything productive. I don't even know if they're supposed to be having lovers there, but maybe even getting up to no good.
Who knows?
But basically, Lucretia, the last one they come to, of course, she is completely different from everyone else. And basically, Lucretia, as opposed to rocking on with all her friends and having this luxurious, decadent feasting, even though it's super late at night by this stage, she's busily at her woolwork. Working away with her little maids around her. Toil, toil, toil. And basically, as they all rock up, she graciously receives them, and they're all kind of blown away by the fact that she's so awesome. And it's here that Sextus decides, not only is she pretty, but she's so deliciously chaste. I think I'm going to hatch an evil plan to debauch her.
Yes. So it's nothing quite like a woman who seems to be unattainable.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The thrill of the chase.
Yeah, obviously he can't do it on the spot. So basically they all go away again.
Oh, no.
But then he comes back again by himself. I mean, by himself as in not with the husband. but with like just one servant. And this is where Lucretia welcomes him in and says, okay, so kinsman, yada, 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 you're welcome to stay. And
you appear to be slightly inebriated. Would you like a bed for a night?
Yeah, so basically he goes to bed, everyone else in the house is asleep, and this is where I think I'm at the same spot as him now.
Yeah. So he waits till everybody's asleep, and then he's like, now's my time. Wakes up, if he ever fell asleep at all. Exactly. And so he goes past Lucretia's servants who are asleep in the sort of like the hallway, the lead into her rooms.
Sure.
And goes into the room, sword in hand. Yeah. Which when I read that, I was like, feels like a euphemism. But it's not.
No, it's a real thing. It's much more threatening.
Actually does go in with a sword.
Exactly.
Because, there's nothing more alluring than attempting to seduce a woman while threatening her with violence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is kind of like Livy says, basically, don't make a sound or I'm going to kill you. Yeah,
so this is a real problem. And it's a classically sort of Roman way to approach this, I think.
Violence, you mean?
Violence, yeah. It is the sort of thing that is actually horrific.
Yeah, and Lucretia, of course...
Lucretia doesn't have many options open
No, but she is... I mean, I think we talked about Lucretia, actually, I think, in one of our very first episodes ever, although I don't think we talked about it in this much detail, obviously. Lucretia is an archetype. Like, whether she was real or not, whatever.
The whole concept of woolworking is very much bound up in this idea of ideal female labour.
Yeah, so you know that she's going to be the most virtuous in Roman ideals that, there possibly is. So basically, in Livy's version, she actually cries out, but no one hears her. So she takes the risk, basically, of being killed straight off.
Oh, yeah,
by screaming, but unfortunately no one heard her. And then, this is what I find kind of hilarious in Livy's note, in Livy's story, even though obviously, as you say, it is actually quite horrific. Tarquinius actually starts to say... Sorry, Sextus, because just so it doesn't get confusing. He apparently starts to say, I love you, I think you're so amazing, come on, baby.
Do you see this sword?
Yeah, I know. Why even bother with the sweet talk?
I'm really not sure what he thought the talk was going to achieve when he's holding a sword.
I even like this direct quote, well, I mean, direct is in the English translation, to bring every resource to bear upon her woman's heart. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work when you come into a bedroom with a sword.
There is no concept of consent in this scenario.
Absolutely not.
So he goes into a room. He says, be quiet. I will kill you if you attempt to escape or you cry out. Yeah. So, that sets the scene for a romance right there.
Yeah, and of course, Lucretia's not intimidated by this.
Well,
I mean, not as in... She's kind of like, well, you may as well just kill me because...
Well, I mean, she's not really happy about it. Understandably, she's like, well... Dude, like, what's going on?
Cool.
Fairly terrified, I would say.
Terrified, but she takes the risk of him killing her by screaming, in Livy's account.
Yeah, she does not do this in Dionysius' account. Yeah. He offers her two alternatives. Yeah. He's like, alright. He's like, you can either have death with dishonor. Yeah. Or life with happiness.
Yeah, because this is the thing we talked about. Yeah, this is the thing I think we talked about before. Basically, he says, all right, so I can see that this sword is not enough to intimidate you. Basically, let me lay the scene. I'm not only going to kill you, I'm then going to kill a slave of yours, a male slave, and pose it so it looks like I discovered you in flagrante with your slave, and you'll basically have been killed for committing adultery. Not only for committing adultery, but for committing adultery with a slave. Ew.
Like the low of the low.
Exactly, yeah. And so, what the hell is Lucretia going to do?
Or you could have sex with me, Sextus.
And it's all kept on the down low.
Well, and not only that, but according to Dionysius, I will make you my wife.
Oh, okay, well that definitely is not an offer.
And you'll reign with me.
Okay.
Yeah. And, and since I'm the eldest son in this account, I will definitely be inheriting.
Maybe that's why Livy left it out, because it's like... She probably would be like, so what? Down the line, buddy.
Dude, you're like the third son. Exactly. You're going to inherit a piece of dirt.
It's not even remotely tempting.
Yeah. This is the offer that Sextus puts out as the eldest son. It's like, I'm actually in line to rule.
Yeah.
So if you want a sweet deal, now is your time to get on this bandwagon.
Tempting. Anyway, so basically Lucretia really has no choice. And so in Livy's account, she gives in, and Sextus Tarquinius goes away chuckling to himself, hee hee hee, that was easy. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Well done me. Pat myself on the back.
Yeah, so he's like, well, that's that. That's...
Yeah, scratch that itch.
Yeah, that was that notch on the bedpost that I was looking for.
Exactly. Yeah.
And...
I shall think no more of it.
Yeah. It doesn't really quite end there.
No, Lucretia is quick off the mark.
Well, and in keeping with her archetypal Roman woman-ness, if you like, the narrative unfolds in a really interesting way.
Totally. So basically, according to Livy, she sends a message immediately to her father, who is apparently in Rome, and her husband, who of course is in Ardea again, because, he's gone back after spying on her. Yeah.
As you do.
And basically says, I want you both to bring someone who you trust along with you, and just come quickly because something really, really bad has happened. Okay, so basically, Spurius Lucretius comes with Publius Valerius, and Collatinus comes with none other than Lucius Junius Brutus.
The dumb guy.
With the stuff and the falling over and the kissing the earth. Yeah, that guy.
What's he doing there?
Yeah, so he's apparently there in Livy's version of things.
Oh, yeah. No, he's definitely there. And so this idea, she has them all gather around. She's like, look, I have this horrific thing to tell you.
Yeah.
And I need you to avenge me, essentially.
Yeah.
I've suffered things that are worse than death.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So she frames it in terms of her honour.
Yeah.
In terms of honour needing to be avenged.
Yeah. And she basically says, look, my husband... How can I go on? Because where is woman when she has no honour? It is only my body that's been violated. Obviously, my heart wasn't in it, my mind wasn't in it. But, death will be my witness to that fact. That's the way I'm going to sort of preserve my virtue. Is that, once you guys have said, you will make sure my honour is avenged. And interestingly, the guys around her all say, look, you don't need to go through with this. This isn't your fault. Yeah.
This is actually not to do with you.
Exactly, yeah.
And your honour has not been
compromised.
Shamed.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, no, it definitely has.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, okay, I'm not... in Livy, I love this sentence. She says, though I acquit myself of the sin, I do not absolve myself from the punishment. Not in time to come shall ever unchaste women live through the example of Lucretia. Oh, it's so poignant. Yeah.
Ooh, what a narrative.
Exactly, yeah.
Ooh, history. Ooh, everybody needs a paragon to look up to, don't they? Everyone wants to fall hard when they really fall, don't they?
And basically then she kills
and
herself.
then she stabs herself.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone...
What a way to go.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you get to the point of stabbing yourself. I mean, it's got to be horrific.
Can't imagine. And then apparently in front of your own husband and your own father.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she plunges it into her breast with a single stroke. Pierced her heart.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
She must have good aim. It's hard to get through the ribcage. Yeah. Anywho, so basically all the men who are around her start the lament, basically.
It's really quite sad. The description in Dionysius is like the father sort of picks her up, holds her close, keeps talking to her as if she's still alive.
That is sad. Livy doesn't quite go, I don't think, into that much detail. But Brutus, in Livy's account, Brutus kind of keeps his head while everyone else is really sad. In that he takes a knife from Lucretia and sort of, holds it up to the sky. It's very dramatic, very film-worthy. By this blood, most chaste until a prince wronged it, I swear, and I take you gods to witness, that I will pursue Lucius Tarquinius Superbus and his wicked wife and all his children with sword, with fire, aye, with whatsoever violence I may, and that I will suffer neither them nor any other to be king in Rome. Dun, dun, dun. And everyone else around him. Now, keep in mind, this is the first time Brutus, I think, has managed to string...
full speech.
Yes, managed to string sentences together.
Everybody's confounded.
Yeah, everyone's
I
like...
thought he was dumb.
Oh my god, who are you? You're not the friend I apparently, brought along with me. But yeah, quickly they kind of jump on board and, I can kind of understand this. Their grief soon turns into this anger.
They see Sextus's actions as a sort of further evidence of the illness that is the
tyranny. Yeah, exactly.
That has come from the rule
the
of his father.
Yeah, exactly.
The idea that not only has he taken power by might, but he's willing to also compromise the women. Using might as well.
Yeah, and like I said before, if you think about the sort of, typical narratives that exist in these times about tyrants, one of the things that tyrants tend to do is violate innocent women. So check. Done now. Yeah. So this is another great scene. Basically, they apparently sort of everyone decides at this scene that they're going to follow Brutus's lead and decide to go to war against the kings.
Yeah, so Brutus spends some time sort of, first of all, convincing the room that he's in that he has been playing dumb all of this time.
Wink, wink.
And they're like, well, you're speaking quite eloquently now, so okay.
And we are kind of mad, so
seems, what you're saying seems really reasonable.
Yeah.
So, all right. And
a lifetime of stupidness.
Yeah. Forget that. And he's like, look, I had to do it. I had to save myself. And they're like, yeah, cool. And they're like, so what are we going to do about this problem? And he's like, look, we need to get some more people involved.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, get all of the patricians that you can find. Let's talk this out.
Yeah.
Because we need to get rid of this tyranny.
Well, see, in Livy, it's even more dramatic because they apparently take Lucretia's body to the marketplace.
Oh yeah. Let's display her body outside this Senate house.
Oh, God, doesn't this just remind you, again, I know the other event comes later, but Caesar, Antony, it's got those parallels of having, look at this dead body, look at what has happened, get angry, I want you to get mad.
This is the sort of body that shouldn't be dead.
Exactly.
Those other bodies, those Sabine bodies, they should be dead.
Yeah, and
but
basically,
this body, this is a Roman body.
All these guys gather around and they're just like, oh my God, did that really happen? And all of a sudden, apparently, all the tales about all the things that the royal family basically has been responsible for start to pour out. And they start to say, yeah, actually, you know what? He did this to me, and he did this to me, and la la la.
Yeah, so they end up in this situation where Brutus has called an assembly. The body of Lucretia is prominently on display.
Yeah.
Blood dried over the corpse.
Yep.
Rigor mortis has set in by this stage.
Is this from your source or are you just assuming?
I'm just making an educated guess. The length of time it takes for the body to die and then to be transported into the forum. Whip the frenzied crowd into action.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to wait for everybody to get there before you start.
Yeah,
it's
true.
know.
You want a crowd together.
Yeah, look, she's probably a little bit crusty.
Yeah.
I don't know what the weather's like. What time of year is it? Is it the sweltering of summer? Because nobody wants that. That's not going to last for much longer. Like, we need to get this assembly happening straight away, guys.
Yeah, well, see, in Livy's account, the bold young men start getting together their weapons and saying, I will help you.
Yes.
And then everyone else starts getting on the bandwagon. And so Brutus basically says, yep, okay, so Lucretia's father, you can stay here and keep control of Galatia, or Galatia, whatever you want to call it, and we'll post sentries around because we don't want word of this to get out, and I'm heading off to Rome.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on that note, ooh, I think that's probably a good point to pause the narrative.
Oh my God.
Another cliffhanger.
I swear to you, next episode will be into the Republic.
Well, look, there's just a lot of stuff
there
going
is a lot
down
of stuff to go through.
in the rule of Tarquinius Superbus.
Absolutely. All right, so thank you for joining us for another episode.
Thank you.
Yes, we hope you enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it,
let us know.
Exactly. Please
write a review.
Yes.
Get yourself on the Twitter.
Yeah. iTunes, whatever. Start a conversation. We're just grateful for any good word of mouth that we can get.
We would love your feedback. We'd love to know what your favourite episodes are.
Absolutely, yes. Please get in touch. And until then,
adieu.
Indeed.